fellow makeup lovers, how are you guys doing today? Welcome back to another video. I feel like I am definitely a little bit behind in filming this and talking about my yearly favorites just because I took a bit of a little mental health hiatus in December, but I still want to share this with y'all. I still want to talk about my favorite products from 2021. So I thought I would start off with a video on my top 10 eyeshadow palettes or indie eyeshadow palettes specifically from the year 2021. And also, just to make it a little bit more interesting, I thought I would rank those just because it was actually kind of easy to rank them. Like it was just, I knew their places in my heart. If you're new here, I do a ton of content talking about independently owned makeup brands. So I would definitely recommend subscribing if you'd like to see more of that on your subscription feed. But for now, let's just go ahead and jump on in. So we're starting off with the 10th palette. And obviously, even though like the first few are at the bottom of the ranking, they're still amazing palettes because they rank above every other palette that I'm not mentioning. So even though this is at the bottom, it's still at the top 10. I don't know why I felt the need to make that disclaimer, but the 10th palette is the Menagerie Cosmetics Indigo Ink. And this one was kind of like a hidden gem, favorite that crept up on me because I kind of just bought it for review. And I know that you guys like to see me talk about Menagerie. Those videos normally do well, so I was like, let me buy the new Menagerie palette. But I was actually so pleasantly surprised by this. I feel like the color story, although it is a little bit random, it's very inspiring. And I just feel like the quality of this is one of the best palettes Menagerie has ever done. The mattes are just perfect, like they're buildable, pigmented, there's not a ton of kick up, they're not too hard pressed, like they're just perfectly balanced shadows, and I love them. And then as far as the shimmers go, I feel like this is the first palette from Menagerie that has really intense shimmers, a mixture of textures. We've got duochromes, we've got like a borderline, maybe I would call it a multi-chrome if I'm feeling saucy. So I feel like this palette is such a fun one, and it was also done so well. So coming in 9th place is going to be the Alamar Encanto palette. This was their collaboration with Disney, Encanto the movie. And I mean, obviously the packaging and everything is beautiful. I love the idea of the collab just as much as I love the palette. Like, I just think it's so special. I was so excited for Alamar, like a small Latina-owned indie brand, to collaborate with Disney and for it to actually be so beautiful, because I mean, we've seen a lot of brands collaborate with Disney and sometimes it just feels kind of like cheap. Sometimes it just feels like the heart of the movie or the show or whatever is being used isn't even put into the palettes, and like I just don't even see the inspiration. But this one I just feel like was done so well. So here is what it looks like on the inside. It's just such a cute little palette. I really like the color story because I feel like this is the perfect 2 shadow palette. Like, if you like to do simple looks, this palette is for you. I think it's because these are all midtones and they just pair so well. Any of the mattes you could throw in your crease real quick and then throw any of the shimmers on the lid and it's done. Like, I feel like if you want to do a green look, if you want to do a blue look, if you want to do a pink look, if you want to do a neutral look, a neutral and green, like all the colors just mesh so well. I feel like the mattes blend really nice in here. The shimmers are very beautiful. They're definitely a bit more of like a thick metallic formula, I would say, compared to other ones that Alamar has done in the past. But I just think it's so beautiful. Like, it makes me happy to use, and it's also just like the most easy, simple eyeshadow palette while still being fun and inspiring and not boring. So yeah, I really, really love this one. I think it's beautiful. And I'm so happy for Alamar. So coming in 8th place, this palette did not release in 2021, but I feel like I still used it so much during the year that I just wanted to go ahead and mention it. And I feel like, I mean, you guys will understand, it obviously has a special place in, I think, a lot of people's hearts. This is the Sydney Grace Tiny Marvels palette, and I have loved this palette since I first tried it. I think it is a beautiful palette. So this was the collaboration between Sydney Grace and Mel Thompson, who unfortunately is no longer with us on Earth, but it feels so special to still have something she created and have something she put her heart into. This palette is available still, and I believe that all the proceeds are going to Mel's family, so that I think that's amazing. If you have wanted to pick it up, I personally would recommend it. I feel like it's just that amazing Sydney Grace formula. The mattes are just super, super blendable. The metallics, although they're not like sparkly, most of them are not duochromes. They're not like like some of the more on-trend metallics that we're seeing now from a lot of indie brands. These are just very foiled metallics. They just look super wet on the lid, and I just feel like they're super, super pretty. This shade Fire Butts is probably my favorite shade in the entire palette. I just think that it's stunning, and I just have continued to reach back into this all year long, especially for like the neutrally grungy green options, like this little section here. I feel like I reach back for all the time. And the shade Web has like a pretty, I don't know if you can see that, it has a decent dip going in as well, because I love using that one as a highlighter for my face and on my inner corner. So yeah, I would say this has turned into a long-term favorite, and it's just a very special palette. So coming into 7th place is going to be the Blend Bunny Blends palette. This is a bit of a newer palette for me. I kind of mostly had it towards the end of 2021, but I really, really love it. So here is what it looks like. And I just felt like I had to talk about it, I had to mention it, because this has become my new favorite matte rainbow palette. I feel like just the way that it is organized is so, so beautiful, but the formula is really nice as well. They're super easy to blend, super pigmented. I just couldn't really ask for more out of a matte formula. I had some people, when I was like debating on buying this, kind of recommend to me not to, because they felt like maybe this would be too thin for my preference. But I don't have any issues with the formula. I don't have any issues with building up, sticking, anything like that. So I'm really, really happy with it. And I just feel like if you're someone who has a lot of indie shimmer shadows, like a lot of Cleona shimmers, a lot of Terra Moon shimmers, Davina shimmers, like those plus this, perfection. Like I feel like they just go together. I also really love that there is a really decent variety of light, medium, and deeper tones. I mean, you'll find more as you go through all of Blend Bunny's palettes, but this one, just for a rainbow palette, I think has been done, again, so well. So that has turned into a favorite for me, and I'm really glad that I did decide to go ahead and try Blend Bunny. So next, coming into 6th place is going to be the Sydney Grace times Tantalia Quintessence palette, and I have the light version. So here is what she looks like. This palette, I mean, same goes for all of the things I've said about Sydney Grace's formula so far. Super easy to blend mattes, very metallic, foiled, wet looking shimmers. I just think they're stunning. But the reason why I love this palette so much is because I feel like it is the perfect cool toned, I don't know why I just said it like that, cool toned. It is the perfect cool toned smoky eye palette. I feel like the grays that are in here are just everything that I need between these two lighter shades and this darker black, and then also this kind of like smoky teal shade. I feel like those mattes just create a perfect foundation. And then you do have like more traditional cool tone smoky vibes with a really beautiful silver. You've got like a really beautiful kind of taupey, purpley, pewtery shade. But then you've also got all these pops of color between the purples, the greens, the burgundy, even this one right here, which is like a light purpley, silver, shifty moment. All of those just add so much to it. So I feel like you could go from the most boring, easy smoky eye to the most intense, colorful, like New Year's Eve glam smoky eye with this palette, and just have everything you need if you're a cool tone girl who loves neutrals and colors. And this has just been my favorite of all the Sydney Grace times Tantalia palettes. I did like all of them, but this one I just feel like is perfection. Like, it's curated so well, and I just think it's so cute. So yeah, definitely a favorite, and I'm really, really happy that I have it. So next, for 5th place, we have the Menagerie Cosmetics Flight Club palette. I have really loved this one. I feel like it's just such a beautiful purple palette. So here's what it looks like, and I've reached for this so much. I know I don't think I even did a 3 looks video on my channel with this, but I have used it like in my own personal time, and I just feel like it's so pretty. It's just so pretty. The mattes are so nice. They blend so well. I love the mauve tones. I love this neutral tone here. I love these two shimmers the most, but then all the other shimmers are beautiful as well. My one complaint with this palette has always been that I wish that there was like a really, really deep eggplant purple. I feel like that's the one thing that's truly missing out of here. But that aside, I just feel like for some reason this palette has like fulfilled my purple vibes. Between this and ColourPop, or kid you not, like it is just a purple berry heaven. I love those two palettes together. So yeah, I mean, I know some people felt like this was kind of one note, we're kind of over monochromatic palettes. I get it, but I love this one so much. I just feel like it's so pretty. And I don't know, I've just been gravitating for purples so much, and I just think the tones in here just perfectly bond with me. And again, this is another one from Menagerie where I felt like the formula was just perfected. The mattes blend really, really nicely. They're just the perfect like pigmentation. The shimmers in here are not as nice as the Indigo Ink palette. I feel like the Indigo Ink is slightly better when it comes to the shimmer formula, but these are still really, really beautiful, and I do like them a lot. This one just ranks higher than Indigo Ink because I like the purples altogether a little bit more. So for fourth place, I don't think any of y'all are gonna be surprised to see this on my favorites of 2021 because I've used this palette so much. I've talked about it in favorites video after favorites video, and this might have even came out in 2020 or 2019, I can't remember, but it doesn't matter because I love this palette and it just had to be on this list. So this is the Sydney Grace Enduring Love palette, and I have the light version. Mine is like this plasticky tin packaging, which actually they sell it as a cardboard packaging now, in case you're curious. If you go on their website, that's why it's a little bit different, but the shades are the same. Here is what it looks like. This is just one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes ever, especially for neutral shadows. I feel like it's just an absolute go-to because I love the metallics in here. They are all so pretty. I love the matte shades that are in here. I feel like they're just very basic, but they're everything that I need at the same time. I mean, this is definitely more of a neutral palette. There's like little pops that you can do. You can add a little purple, add a little pink, add a little blue, but any way that you do that, it's pretty subtle. I mean, I've done a few tutorials on my channel with this, and I know I've done a few on Patreon as well, showing lots of different ways, especially like this top row here. Like this is such a cute like neutral like pinky look, but anyways, like I said, it's pretty muted overall, but I just feel like this got me into cool tones. This is what started my love of silvers, my love of grays that I've been like living for the last year. So this palette is just a ride or die at this point. I mean, this shade, obviously you can see I have a pan on it, is the most beautiful highlighter. End of story. So number 4. So coming into third place is going to be the Ace Beauté Tropical Vibes palette. This one I was not expecting to love the way that I love, but a lot of it has to do with the fact that Ace Beauté did change their formula. I did a few videos on the reformulation because I used to have a lot of issues with their mattes, and now I don't. And their shimmers, especially in this palette, are extra beautiful. So yeah, it's just a match made in heaven. And then you add in the color story, which is the prettiest, grungiest color story. Like all the greens in here, just so beautiful. One of my favorite things about this is how many grungy matte greens there are, because I feel like if you love those tones, there is so much variety in this palette when it comes to that. The shimmers are beautiful. Like I said, there's only 3, so you've got like a true gold, you've got like kind of a light greeny gold, and then you've got this teal, but the formula on those are absolutely stunning. It's kind of like that thick, sparkly, just like a glittery looking shimmer, which is just so pretty, especially with these looks. I feel like it almost looks like my eye look today could have been done with this palette, but it was not. However, I love this one so much. It makes me so excited for whatever Ace Beauté is gonna do next, but this quickly became one of my favorite grungy green palettes ever. Like it knocked everything else out of the park. So I know that it has been out of stock constantly, but hopefully they'll restock it soon because it's just so good. So next, coming into second place, is going to be the Adept Cosmetics Plain Jane palette. I believe that this came out in 2020, but I tried it in the very beginning of 2021, and I remember my thumbnail or my title or something being like, did I miss out on the best palette of 2020 because so many people love this, and I had not tried Adept at that point. But now, like, I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. This palette is just perfection. So I don't know, did I already say it? This is the Plain Jane palette from Adept Cosmetics, which unfortunately is no longer available, but I still had to talk about it because, one, I love it so much. It has been a favorite for me. I feel like it is the most amazing all shimmer palette to exist. The formula is just beautiful. The shifts are beautiful. The texture is beautiful. Like, it's just so good. Adept has a few other palettes, and I do like all of them, but this one is definitely my favorite. And the cool thing is that they're sneak peeking that they're going to come out with a remastered version for this year, and it's gonna have some of the OG favorites, some new shades. It's still gonna be all shimmers, so I can't wait to see that and see what it looks like, and I am all about it. I just feel like if you love sparkly, special indie shadows, but you want them all in a palette, like this palette you can't go wrong with. And I know a lot of y'all own it, so maybe instead of causing FOMO, this could be like telling you to remember to pull it back out and use it, because I know it can be easy to forget about some things, but this is just so good. And like I said, they're having a new version come out soon, which hopefully I will love just as much. And that was another one I feel like I used so much during a lot of my videos this year. I used off camera, I talked about it in favorites videos, so I just felt like it deserved second place. Going into first place, I'm sure so many of you are gonna be able to guess this, because I've called this palette a favorite so many times. I've talked about it being one of the best palettes ever. Like, I've just raved and raved and raved and raved about it, so I'm sure this is not a surprise. Coming in first place is going to be the Kaledios Club Nebula palette. This is the collaboration with Angelica Nyqvist, which Angelica is my friend, and I'm so happy for her. And I mean, that gave me initial excitement about the palette, but I feel like long term the palette has just continued to speak for itself, because I mean, just being honest, I have a lot of palettes that are collabs with my friends, but this one just stands out on top because it is so good. It's just perfect in every way. So here is what it looks like. The eye look that I have on my eyes today, I did do with this, and I filmed a full tutorial for my Patreon in case you're curious. But I love this color story so much because I feel like you can get the perfect cool tone neutral look out of this row here, and then you can make it more purple if you want to. But just like these two shades alone just scream to my heart. I love them so much. I've reached for those over and over. The blue green row, I mean, perfection. The chartreuse is everything. The deepening shades between the blue, sorry, I'm pointing at the wrong shade. The blue, the green, this deep purple, and this deep red. They are all so nice. And then of course you have this bottom row here, which I would say out of all the colors are probably not my favorite, because it's more of that like warm, fiery look, but I still really like it. And I love the looks that I've done with it, but I would just say like the top two rows are what like really just have like a lockdown on my heart. So like I said, love the color story. The formula to me is phenomenal. I feel like the mattes are just amazing. They blend super easy. They're extremely pigmented. They deepening shades just blend effortlessly. I mean, this look I feel like is so pretty, and it was just so easy to do, especially blending wise. It did not take that long because they're just so easy to use. And then as far as the shimmers go, I would say they're more of like a little bit of like a drier, sparkly kind of texture to them. But I think if you use a glitter glue, or you use a finger, or you use a setting spray, then they just look so beautiful and intense, especially the topper shades, like these three shades. If you use them over other things in the palette, other mattes or whatever, I feel like they just transform and they look so beautiful. And I mean, I think again, like one of the things that makes this have the very first place, the top palette of 2021 to me, is just how much I have continued to reach for it, because I feel like that's like the true test of time. All year long I went back to it over and over again, whether I was feeling a super colorful look or whether I was feeling something a little bit more cool toned, a little bit more toned down. I mean, I know like obviously this is not a neutral palette by far, like it is the farthest thing from a neutral palette, but I just feel like between these three shades I get like that perfect, like kind of fun, kind of something different but still tame look. I don't know. So yeah, I've reached for this so much, and I'm so sad that it's not available anymore. I'm so sad that like it'll probably never be available again. But I mean, I wasn't gonna not talk about it because it rightfully deserves first place. All right, y'all, so those are my top 10 indie eyeshadow palettes of 2021. I would love to know what your favorite palettes were. Feel free to comment down below, have a conversation with me, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.